go back to the fact that this is also a political process. Now, if you look what we did in Palestine, I used to work with the Palestinians. What we did is we gave all the money to the civil society. We did not support the government. The people became alienated from the government. The election came, which of course that we supported, and everybody voted for Hamas. Now, you know, these are political processes. So you know, we got to take care of everybody.
Do you think there's any mileage due to in creating an international organisation? The teacher unions have got it. It's called Education International. Every time there's any question about education.
I think you are right. Usually when you talk about taking things to greater heights and taking into consideration that the same problem that is in India, the same problem that is in Kenya, the same problem that is in Uganda. One time I was sent to Uganda to go and do some things, and Uganda as Association for Private Local Schools in Kampala. In Kampala there are 4 sub-counties, and in Kampala alone there are over 400 private local schools. And when I was talking with this friend of mine that I went to visit, and then he decided to take me down the schools, what did we find placed in the doors of the head teachers, bearing the local authorities logo that, please, if you don't, I think they were supposed to pay some money. If you don't pay this money by this specific time, we are going to close the schools. So then you look at it, the same thing is in Nairobi. Like for example, in Nairobi, the local authorities, every beginning of every year, there's some money that you must pay. You don't pay that money, you are put in police cell. So it is just like the same thing that is happening in Kampala, and is happening in India. So I imagine if we could maybe extend the association to cover a larger region, then it becomes a bigger voice. Then that bigger voice, I think, would help us to eliminate certain of these laws that is not giving us a good conducive environment to operate and teach children.
Thank you, James. Since George has taken care of the optimistic side, I think I will try to balance it out a bit. If only all the associations in India come together, we will have such a huge association. We can just subsume all the other associations in the world. The problem is if you just go out and see in each city, there does exist a lot of associations. They're very isolated, small, and each and there's a huge politics at play. To be very honest, and my school owner friend shouldn't mind. It's a huge politics, and if you see in reality, a lot of these edupreneurs are not actually from the education background. And a lot of school owners who have nothing to do with education, they only find this as a great business opportunity, which is fine. But what we need to, I think, what you're looking at is, in the long term, it's possible. Right now, first of all, they need to see that there are a lot of common ground, common area that they can cover together, that there are common interests that they can fight for together, and forget the local politics and come together and work together to fight against this common enemy called government and be in a better position locally, and then I think definitely one day we will have an international association.
Isn't it better to kind of work under the radar like the schools have been doing for the most part, and until you get proof of concept, until you really have something to showcase to the government? Because otherwise government might get involved too early and start meddling in your process and get in the way of natural market forces working out the way they do.
So okay, let's put somebody here, but it's not documented. So I think the only thing that is giving us a big challenge, especially in Kenya, is we want to work out on how there can be a policy that is going to regulate the welfare of the private schools in Kenya. In a way that if you, maybe next time you find a law minister coming in, somebody can come in and say like, I don't want to see any private schools in the slum. That will be the end of it. It will not exist anymore. So I think this is the best time because, as he said before, because they signed the international protocols and they must achieve them, and we are doing like about 70%, I think, so to help them achieve those things. the best time for us to seduce them and to have the policy in place that maybe we say that if you want to register a school, it's not 10 acres of land and 12 toilets. You can register with certain minimal requirements so long as the child is not abused in the class.
I would think slightly differently from your point of view, because there's no better time than now. I'll go back to what I mentioned. Our problem is not just the government, it's also how private schools are perceived. Yeah? And any government engagement is not an overnight affair. It's going to be a long-drawn process. So it's not like we don't have achievements to showcase. Just like Bob and George mentioned, how much low-cost private schools contribute to achieving the Millennium Development Goals. The problem is that it's not, open. It's not documented. And but when private schools increase their fees for good reason, bad reason, whatever, without being judgmental on that, you could see that at least hundreds of parents were on the road. Somebody could just get them all go in front of the minister's house and shout slogans. Can you do that with some people saying this is unjust? How could you ask in the new act? How could you ask all these small schools to get so many big classrooms or shut down in 3 years? Would you get anybody? No. I think if you start from now, maybe in years, you'll be in a place to engage. I think we need to take care of it at every level and start from now.